So one time I accidentally took 30 hits of acid, roughly 30 hits. We don't actually know exactly how much it was. It was liquid form in an eyedropper, but it was a full eyedropper, you know, a squirt thing of it, full. And I used to sell acid in high school, so I know about how much is in, I guess, you know, the syringe of the eyedropper. So I used to put hits on individual tabs like that and on sugar cubes and stuff. So you're going to get 20 to 30 hits out of there. Anyway, the story goes is I was working at a place on Mill Avenue in Tempe, Arizona, back when I was like early 20s, and it was coffee. I was working at a coffee shop. It's called Coffee Plantation. I don't think it's there anymore, but it was on Mill Avenue. And these hippies used to always hang out. We called them gutter punks back then. And you know, they were homeless kids, but they were homeless by choice. They weren't really homeless because of, you know, whatever. They were young kids, and you know, they're hippies, gutter punks, and they always had the best fucking drugs. And anyway, we used to throw out all of our pastries and shit at the end of the night, you know, from the day before, whatever. And you know, we'd have half a trash bag full of fucking danishes and croissants and shit like that, you know, biscottis and bullshit. And you know, I always felt bad about throwing them in the trash. We're supposed to throw them in the trash to prevent these guys from hanging out, but I like these guys, you know, and it's fucking food we're gonna throw away. So I would sneak it out the back door to them. And anyway, they're always fucked up, and I gave him this big bag of pastries and shit, and he's like, hey man, open your mouth. And I was like, what is it? He's like, you want to fry tonight, man? I was like, sure man, let's go. You know, and he had an eyedropper, right? And I stupidly said, okay, you know, put it in my mouth. And he squirted the whole fucking thing in there. And I was like, oh, and it wasn't like a drop in the tongue that absorbs. It like hit the back of my throat and I had to swallow it. That's how much it was. You know, it was probably like, you know, quarter, half a teaspoonful, whatever. It was a fucking lot. And I knew I was in trouble right away. And the hippie guy's like, oh, man, you're gonna trip balls, man. I was like, oh, fuck, you're an asshole. Anyway, I knew I was in trouble, so I had to catch the bus home too. It sucked. And so I ran to the bus stop. Well, not run, but I walked briskly to the bus stop, hoping that I wasn't gonna fucking trip balls before I got home. Sure as shit, I started tripping balls before the bus even got there. By the time the bus got there, I could barely see. I mean, you know, and prior to this incident, I had taken probably, not all at once, of course, spread out, you know, 2-3 hits at a time, probably over 100, 150 hits of acid. So I was no spring chicken to LSD by any means. You know, I was kind of a veteran at that point. But, you know, and I've tripped balls before, but not like this. You know, when you see like these kaleidoscope images and shit and stuff like that, that's kind of like what it was. I mean, I was literally blinded. I could not see. The stuff wasn't melting, but what it was is the colors and the patterns and the geometries of everything were just blurring into one. It was intense. It was so intense, it was scary. And that was the first time I've ever been scared on acid, because I lost all motor skills, I lost all my coordination. I was fucking immobile. And I was on the bus stop and I couldn't see. I could not see out the windows because everything was just fucking, just colors just shining, blasting my face, and everything was just blurring and like melting, not melting, but like just, I don't know. You know how it is if you're done acid. Yeah, times that by 30. Yeah, it was intense. But yeah, so I got off the bus at the wrong fucking bus stop. And I was only like 3 bus stops away. So I was probably half a mile or so from my house. I could have walked, but I was so fucked up I couldn't see, and it was at night, which made it even fucking worse. I couldn't see, I couldn't even talk. I was a bumbling idiot for like almost 3 days. I peaked for like probably 8 to 10 hours, and it was so intense. I basically wandered around, you know, side streets looking for my house, talking to myself and fucking seeing shit and dreaming. It was like a vivid dream, an awakening. It was like dreaming while you're awake is what it was like. But it was scary because it was so intense. I was sweating profusely. I started puking. It was bad, man. It was fucking intense. But I was high for like 3 fucking days. Like after the 2.5 days, I started to come down. Oh, but I was a fucking wreck. I swore I was gonna die. If I could have walked my ass to the hospital, I would have, but I couldn't. I had no fucking idea where I was, and I was in my neighborhood somewhere, roundabouts. I ended up on the canal bank, sitting next to the canal bank and watching the water go for like hours. I remember like the sun going down, the sun coming back up and shit. Yeah, it was a long time. But yeah, that's my LSD experience, and you know, I've never been right ever since then, man. I know I lost at least 10 IQ points that night, and emotionally I was a fairly stable person back then. After that incident, something something broke in my mind. I'm just not quite the same. I'm not the same person after that incident. So I'm a big fan of LSD and hallucinogens. I think that the very mind-opening experience and substance opens you to parts of your subconscious mind that are normally not accessible. But I would not recommend doing 30 hits.